Okay, good morning, everyone. Good morning, everyone. My name is Steve Seward. Many of you know me from the emails. I've been helping to coordinate this retreat. And before we get started, I just want to go over a few logistical aspects of the retreat. First, about Zoom. So all of the participants are automatically muted. But during the question and answer sessions with Bante, you can raise your hand and we will invite you to unmute to ask your question. We can't unmute you ourselves. We can only allow you to unmute. So if you raise your hand, we will call on you, invite you to unmute, and then unmute yourself to ask your question. Throughout the retreat, because the chat function is not enabled, if you have any technical problems, please send an email to this address here, baustechhelp@gmail.com. We have a volunteer monitoring that account, and they will help you as best they can with any technical issues pertaining to Zoom or the retreat. All of you should have seen the schedule. I included the link to it and a PDF attachment in my last email. I'm putting it here just to remind you that during the portions when we are not all together, such as breakfast, lunch, the 5 to 7 o'clock dinner break, the meeting will be shut down. But throughout the retreat, it's the same meeting link, the same meeting code and password, but we're going to just not run the Zoom meeting during those longer breaks. We will keep it up and running during the tea breaks. We are also streaming this on YouTube Live. So if you ask a question and you don't want your face to be on YouTube, turn off your video. And if you don't mind your face being on YouTube, you can leave it on. We do prefer when you're asking questions that you turn on the video. But of course, if you're not comfortable with that for any reason, it's no problem. Just leave it off. To all of our viewers on YouTube, make sure after each session you close the window and open it up again before the next one. When we stop streaming, if you don't do that, it's not going to resume when we start again. And then finally, there's no charge for this retreat. However, we do encourage donations. They help us continue to offer programs like this. So you can make donations to the Buddhist Association of the US or the Chongyen Monastery specifically. And you can also give dana to Bhikkhu Bodhi by going to baus.org and clicking on the red donate button. And that's it. Again, if you have any questions, email that tech help email address, and I look forward to practicing with you. Thank you. Looks like we're just sorting out some technical details.
Monday, please unmute yourself.
I should be a co-host. You can hear me?
I think we can hear you now, Bante, and I just made you a co-host.
Okay. Okay, so good morning, everybody. Sorry, we've had some technical problems here. Okay, so now we are going to begin the first session with this first day. Now I'm getting bounce back. I'm getting echo of my own voice. I think everybody has to mute themselves. Okay. Okay, so we're going to begin today, and today we'll be spending the entire day doing the 4 protective meditations. So first let me speak in general about the 4 protective meditations. So this is a group of the traditional meditation practices mentioned in the Sutta Pitaka, but they've been collected into a set of 4 by the ancient teachers in the Theravada tradition. And they are called Araka Bhavana, which means protective meditations, because each of these performs a special function in protecting the mind and thereby in protecting our practice and our development of the Buddha's path. So the 4 protective meditations are Buddhanusati, Metta, Asubha, and Maranasati. That is recollection of the Buddha, loving kindness, the meditation on the unattractive nature of the body, and mindfulness of death. And the reason these are called protective meditations is because each of these subjects has its own distinct function in protecting one's practice, one's development, one's commitment to the Buddhist path. And so it's commonly done by the meditation teachers in South and Southeast Asia when a meditation course begins, a long-term meditation course. The teacher will have the students devote the first 4 days of the course to the practice of the 4 protective meditations. And on each day will be devoted to one of the 4 meditation subjects. So if one is going to do a 6-week or 3-month course of insight meditation, on the first 4 days, one will practice the 4 protective meditations. Here, we only have 3 days because we're doing this over the extended weekend. And so we have to fit the 4 subjects into the 3 days. So on the last day, we'll be doing the last 2 subjects. So the 4 protective meditations, Buddhanusati means recollection of the Buddha. Literally, Buddhanusati, it's the mindfulness that accompanies the qualities of the Buddha. And so what we're doing is calling to mind the virtues or qualities of the Buddha. And this protects the practice because the practice of the Dhamma is rooted in saddha or faith in the triple gem. And the first of the 3 jewels is the Buddha. And so in order to maintain our faith, our commitment, our dedication to the Buddha's path, in order to persist despite the doubts, the obstacles, the conflicts, the disappointments we meet, We want to keep our faith in the Buddha strong. And so doing recollection of the Buddha impresses on the mind the virtues, the outstanding qualities of the Buddha, our conviction that the Buddha is indeed the supreme teacher. And in that way, we remain firm in our practice despite all of the hurdles and obstacles we meet. Then one of the biggest inner obstacles to success in the practice is ill will and anger, resentment against others. And so to avoid that, what we need is a quality that will reduce resentment, ill will, and anger and promote goodwill, benevolence, a good feeling towards others that will promote harmony in the community that is practicing together. And so for this reason, the second protective meditation subject is metta, loving kindness. So loving kindness is the remedy for ill will. And when you develop loving kindness, it suffuses the mind with not only with goodwill and kindness towards others, but it also brings feelings of joy. It uplifts the mind, brings inner happiness and tranquility. So in this way, loving kindness is a protective meditation. Okay, then a big obstacle particularly for monastics or those seeking to live a pure, dedicated celibate life is sensual desire, sexual desire, craving for the enjoyment of sexual pleasures. And so the antidote to that is the meditation on the true nature of the body, seeing beneath the surface of the body into the organs, tissues, and fluids and other constituents of the body. And that is the subject of the third protective meditation, the Asubha Bhavana, meditation on the unattractive, the inherently unattractive nature of the physical body. And then probably the biggest barrier to sincere and dedicated practice is heedlessness or negligence. The thought, let me enjoy myself now, and I can always put off real dedicated practice till later. So that is a quality that we call in Buddhism, we call it pamada, which means negligence or heedlessness or complacency. And so the antidote to that is the mindfulness of death, remembering that death is inevitable, that we are bound to die, and that death can take place at any time. So that is the fourth subject, the fourth protective meditation, the mindfulness of death. And so we begin today with recollection of the Buddha. And the Buddha has praised recollection of the Buddha very, very highly. And I just took a couple of quotations here. Let me share the screen. So I took two quotations, both are from the Anguttara Nikaya. So in one passage, the Buddha says, there is one thing that when developed and cultivated leads to peace, to direct knowledge, to enlightenment, to nibbana. What is that one thing? Buddhanusati, recollection of the Buddha. So this doesn't mean that recollection of the Buddha on its own exclusively will lead to enlightenment and nibbana. But recollection of the Buddha primarily serves the purpose of developing samadhi. It's a very, very helpful meditation subject for developing, for unifying the mind, for dispelling the waves of distracting and disturbing thoughts, and unifying the mind. And when that mind becomes tranquil, peaceful, and unified, then one can use the concentrated mind to develop insight. And it's the insight itself that leads to this direct knowledge, enlightenment, and nibbana. But recollection of the Buddha can serve to develop the samadhi that functions as the basis for insight. And for this reason, in the countries of Southeast Asia, recollection of the Buddha is a very popular meditation subject. Amongst Western Buddhists, maybe because it seems a little too devotional, a little bit too much like Christian prayer, so it's not so popular. But I think as Westerners develop a stronger confidence in the Dhamma and learn to practice the recollection of the Buddha, it will become more popular. And then in the East Asian Buddhist tradition, recollection of the Buddha has developed into what's called Nianfo, the recollection of the Buddha, especially by reciting the name of Amitabha Buddha. But in the Pali tradition, the early tradition, the focus is on calling to mind the excellent virtues or qualities of the Buddha and turning those virtues over and over in the mind. And how does this practice work? That is what is shown by the second passage. So here the Buddha is speaking to a disciple called Mahanama, who is actually, I think, his cousin. And the Buddha says here that the noble disciple who has arrived at the fruit and understood the teaching, this is indicating a disciple who is at minimum a sotapanna, a stream enterer. Even a disciple who has realized the truth of the Dhamma still practices recollection of the Buddha. And then he goes through the 9 designations. Then he explains how the meditation works. He says, when a noble disciple recollects the Tathagata is another name for Buddha. On that occasion, his or her mind is not obsessed by lust, hatred, or delusion. Because we're calling to mind the Buddha, who is a person who is utterly free of lust, hate, or delusion. And so when we bring the Buddha to mind, it's a little bit like we are tuning our own mind, using the qualities of the Buddha as the base for tuning up our own mind. I compare this to a guitar player who has a guitar that's out of tune. And if he doesn't have a very sharp musical ear, then he'll have another person with a tuned up guitar, and the person with the tuned guitar will play a string, and then the other person will tune up his loose guitar following the pitch of the properly tuned guitar. So the Buddha is like the properly tuned guitar, and we are like guitars that are out of tune. And so we are trying to tune up our minds by taking the Buddha mind as our exemplar, as our model, as our standard. So the Buddha is one entirely free from lust, hate, and delusion. And so when we bring the Tathagata, the Buddha, to mind, then lust, hate, and delusion settle down from our own mind. And our own mind becomes, at least temporarily, without obsession by lust, hate, and delusion. And then on that occasion, the mind is straight, based on the Tathagata. And then when we call these qualities of the Buddha to mind, then we gain inspiration, the kind of joyous contemplation based on the meaning, based on the Dhamma. And this brings a joy connected with the Dhamma. And then from joy, there arises this delight we call piti, delight, elation, rapture. And then when the mind is filled with delight, the body becomes tranquil, the mind becomes tranquil, And then there arises a kind of happy feeling, very pleasant feeling, even blissful feeling. And then when one feels, one experiences that bliss, then the mind becomes concentrated. The Pali verb is samadhyati, which is the verb that's the basis for samadhi. So this is how the practice works. So we are using the qualities of the Buddha as a means for dispelling, or at least temporarily pacifying, settling down the defilements, and then bringing up joy and delight, aiming at samadhi, at concentration. Okay, so now let us see the qualities that we're going to be focusing on. Is the new, whoops, this is the same one. Oh, this is what do you see the new file? Maybe somebody can answer.
Yes, Monday.
Okay, the one that starts Arahang.
Yes, Monday.
Okay. Okay, so now we're going to go through the 9 qualities. First, I'm going to explain them, and then we will practice the recollection of these qualities. And when I'm going to do this as a guided meditation, and what I will do is recite each quality first in Pali, then give a very short translation of it, or formulation of it, and then there'll be a pause in which you focus the mind on that quality. But first, we're going to explain each of these qualities. Okay, so first it said that the Buddha, the Blessed One, is Arahang. So literally, the word Arahang means a worthy one, one who is worthy of veneration, worthy to receive offerings. And more technically, in Buddhist terminology, but the word arahang is applied to one who has purified the mind of all the defilements and who has broken the bonds that tie one to the round of repeated birth and death. So an arahang is a liberated one who is utterly purified in mind and who is liberated from samsara, the beginningless round of rebirths. Okay, then the second designation of the Buddha is Samma Sambuddho. So this is the prefix, the word Samma means perfectly or completely, and Sambuddho means an enlightened one. So Samma Sambuddho means a perfectly enlightened one. And this expression is used, the way it's explained in the commentaries, it said that this expression signifies the omniscience, or the all-knowing knowledge of the Buddha. Though if we go to the most ancient texts, I don't think we have to take omniscience in the sense that the Buddha knows every particular fact, like how many cushions are spread out in Kuan Yin Hall on November 27th, 2020. I don't think the Buddha would have been concerned with that. But the way I understand the Buddha's omniscience is that he is one who has removed all the obstacles to knowledge and who understands all of the principles of moral and spiritual development, who understands the nature, the real nature of all phenomena. So the Buddha has pulled away the subtlest veil, the subtlest obstruction that prevents him from knowing the nature of phenomena. So he's perfectly enlightened in that he's understood totally and in full depth the nature of all phenomena. Okay, Vijja Charana Sampanno. So Vijja means, it also means knowledge, clear knowledge. And Charana means conduct. In this case, excellent conduct. So the Buddha is one who is accomplished in clear knowledge, particularly that he has the knowledge of his past existences. He has the knowledge by which he can see how the laws of karma work and how other beings pass on from death to rebirth in accordance with their karma. And he has the knowledge of the destruction of all defilements. And then that knowledge manifests in his excellent conduct, in his pure behavior of body and speech, his composed deportment, so that he always carries out all activities with mindfulness and clear comprehension, and that he always acts for the well-being and happiness of others. So we could say he has clear knowledge and excellent conduct. Okay, the next quality is sugato, and the prefix su means good or well, and gata means gone. So literally, sugato is well gone. So that's a little bit obscure. So I translate it as the fortunate one. And it's explained in the commentaries to mean that the Buddha is well gone in that he is gone to the blissful destination, which is Nibbana. And he's gone by the noble path, that is the noble eightfold path. So in this way, the Buddha is sugato, well gone. Okay, then we come to quality number 5. This is lokavidu, knower of the world. So loka is the world, and vidu is one who knows. So one who knows the world. And the Buddha is called knower of the world because first he knows all the different realms of existence. So he's seen them with his supervision, all of the realms within the samsara, from the hell realms, the realm of the animals, the realm of the ghosts, the human realm, the many different heavenly realms, all of those he has seen and totally embraced or encompassed with knowledge. And he knows the world of all the different types of conditioned phenomena, as summed up, for example, within the 5 aggregates. And then I think what's most important here, he knows the world in that he knows the minds and hearts of living beings. So he casts his eye of knowledge out upon the world, and he sees into the hearts of living beings. He knows their problems, their difficulties, their afflictions, their defilements. He knows their potentials, their strengths, their higher faculties. So all of this comes within the range of the Buddha's knowledge. And because he knows the minds and hearts of living beings, he is anuttaro purisa dhammasarati. He is unsurpassed. That's the meaning. Anuttara is unsurpassed. And then Sarati is, originally it means one who trains animals. But the Buddha doesn't train animals, but he trains persons, human beings, who can be trained, who can be tamed. So he's the unsurpassed trainer of persons to be tamed, one who can tame the most difficult and obstinate people. And so we see many in the suttas, many stories about how the Buddha sometimes encounters proud and arrogant Brahmins, and with his teaching, he can tame them. Sometimes he meets people who are angry and speak to him angrily, and with his patience, the Buddha can subdue them. Sometimes he meets people obsessed and governed by craving and greed, and the Buddha uses the skillful means to train them. Sometimes he meets people who have very low opinions of them, who think they're worthless and hopeless, and the Buddha can uplift their spirits and guide them. So the Buddha is one who trains persons to be tamed. The seventh designation is Satta Deva Manusanam. So Satta is a spiritual teacher, and Devas are the deities, the beings in the heavenly worlds, and of course Manusa are human beings. So the Buddha is the teacher of the deities and human beings, and he's the teacher in that he points out what is harmful and what is beneficial, and guides us to the good, to the ultimate good. Okay, then the eighth quality is Buddho, which is what we translate the enlightened one. So Buddho seems very similar to quality number 2, Sammasambuddho, the perfectly enlightened one. So the way I would understand this is that the Buddha is called Buddho here in the sense not just that he is enlightened himself, but that he enlightens others. He sheds the light of wisdom on others. He awakens others to the liberating truths. So Buddho, the Buddha, is the enlightened one and the enlightener, the awakened one and one who awakens others. And then Bhagava, so we translate this as the Blessed One, though it's a word very difficult to translate. There's no real satisfactory English translation. So I'll just use Blessed One. But the way we understand this is that the Buddha is called Bhagava in that he has practiced and fulfilled all the beautiful, meritorious qualities, especially the qualities summed up in the 10 paramis or paramitas: generosity, virtuous conduct, renunciation, wisdom, energy, patience, truthfulness, determination, loving kindness, and equanimity. All of those qualities have been brought to fulfillment in the Buddha. And so because the Buddha has fulfilled these qualities, he is himself the Blessed One and the one who spreads the waves of his blessings out upon the world. Okay, so these are the 9 Buddha guna, 9 qualities. And now we're going to undertake the practice. We're going to go through each of these qualities again, now in a meditative framework. As I said, I'm going to speak or recite each quality first in Pali and using an English translation and giving a short paraphrase of the meaning. Then I'll pause for a few moments and you can reflect on that quality. But just, I say, let the quality, it's not so much an activity that you are doing, but you just let the flavor of that quality sink into the mind. I compare this a little bit like having a dish with 9 different flavors of ice cream, 9 scoops of ice cream of different flavors, and you want to taste each of these flavored ice creams. So you take a little spoon of one, put it on the tongue, and let the taste of that ice cream spread over the tongue and enjoy that taste. Then after you've enjoyed that taste, then you take a little scoop of the next ice cream, put that on the tongue, and in this way you enjoy the flavor, the 9 flavors of the ice cream. And so now we're going to do this with the qualities of the Buddha. And this is a slow kind of meditation. It sort of builds up its momentum gradually. So don't expect that as soon as you start to turn these qualities over, you're going to be flooded with rapture and bliss and piti. But just first try to appreciate the meaning of each quality. But not doing this so much intellectually, but let the quality sink into the heart and bring up a response, a natural response. And sometimes it's helpful if you have a favorite Buddha image, just to keep it sort of in the background of the mind, not to be visualizing it in any kind of detail, but just what you do is sort of see the image of the Buddha in terms of the particular quality that I'm going to mention. So let us start. And now take a comfortable sitting meditation posture. And you could be a little bit relaxed in your posture with this meditation. Should be comfortable and relaxed. Close the eyes. Settle the mind first on the body, then on the breath. A few mindful in and out breaths. Okay, now we're going to be practicing the meditation subject praised by the Buddha himself as leading to peace, higher knowledge, enlightenment, nibbana, practicing recollection of the Buddha, Buddhanusati. And so we bring these qualities to mind, and as we turn over each quality, generate a feeling of esteem and reverence for the Buddha in relation to each quality. So first, the Buddha is Arahang, the worthy one, the one who is purified of all defilements, utterly free of greed, hatred, and delusion, the one who has broken the bonds and is liberated from the cycle of repeated birth and death. So Arahang, the worthy one, the purified one, the liberated one. The Buddha is Samma Sambuddho, the perfectly or completely enlightened one, the one who has removed all obstacles to knowledge and who understands the true nature of all phenomena. Samma Sambuddho, the perfectly enlightened one. The Buddha is Vijja Charana Sampanno, one accomplished in clear knowledge and excellent conduct, one whose ability to know whatever he wants to know is unimpeded, and one whose conduct, whose behavior is impeccable, always acting in accordance with ethical principles, always acting for the welfare of others, always moving, even walking, sitting, standing, lying down with mindfulness and clear comprehension. So Vijja Charana Sampanno, one accomplished in clear knowledge and excellent conduct. Next, the Buddha is Sugato, the fortunate one, the one who has gone to the blissful state of Nibbana, one who is gone by the excellent path, the Noble Eightfold Path. The Buddha is Sugato, the well-gone one, the fortunate one, or we could say the blissful one. Sugato, Sugato, Sugato. Okay, next, the Buddha is Lokavidu, knower of the world, the one who knows all the different realms of existence, from the lowest realms, the middle realms, the heavenly realms above, and the one who knows the world of sentient beings, who knows the minds and hearts of living beings. So the Buddha is Lokavidu, knower of the world. Okay, the Buddha is Anuttaro Purisa Dhammasarati, unsurpassed trainer of persons to be tamed, the one who can tame even the most difficult and obstinate people, whether they are proud and arrogant, angry, greedy, lazy, self-depreciating. The Buddha can tame and train them all. So he is Anuttaro Purisadhammasarati, unsurpassed trainer of persons to be tamed. The Buddha is Satta Deva Manusanam, the teacher of devas, deities, and human beings. We see in the suttas late at night, even the devas descend to earth to receive instructions from the Buddha. And the Buddha travels all over the world, all over northern India, to the villages, towns, and cities, teaching human beings, always pointing out what is to be avoided and what is to be cultivated, what is harmful, what is beneficial, the one who guides us to the ultimate good. So the Buddha is Satta Deva Manusanam, teacher of deities and human beings. Okay, the eighth quality is Buddho, the enlightened one, the awakened one, the one who is fully awakened to the Four Noble Truths, and the one who enlightens others to liberating truth. So Buddho, the enlightened one who enlightens others, the awakened one who awakens others. Buddho. the ninth Bhagava, the Blessed One, the one who is fulfilled and perfected all wonderful meritorious qualities and virtues, and who extends the waves of his blessings out upon the world. So the Buddha is Bhagava, the Blessed One, and the source of blessings. Okay, now come back to your breath. Take a few deep, mindful breaths, breathing in, breathing out, breathing in, out. And then you can slowly open your eyes. And then you can massage especially the buttocks and the knees to stimulate the circulation. And we're going to do some rounds of the walking meditation now. And of course, for everybody, this will be different depending on your living conditions. So the way we do it, we'll be walking here in 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, so we'll walk in a kind of serpentine pattern here. But for the people living in your homes, you just find a space where you can take maybe 10 steps back and forth, 10, 15 steps back and forth. If there isn't that much space, then you can walk in a circle. But what's important is to do the walking mindfully. So the way we do the walking, when you take the right step, you're mindful of taking the right step. And then when you feel the foot pressing on the ground, you're mindful of the touching or contact of the foot on the ground. When you take the left step, then again, mindful of taking the step, mindful of touching the foot on the ground. Then again, with the right foot, mindfully moving the foot, aware of the touch on the ground. The left foot, mindful of taking the step, mindful of the touch or contact of the foot on the ground. So we're going to do this for 10 minutes, and then we will return to our meditation seats. So I'm not sure that we have a gong that everybody will be able to hear. So please keep track of the time. On our East Coast time, we will come back to our seats, let us say at 9:45. And so if you're in a different time zone, then you calculate the corresponding time. But it'll be a little more than 10 minutes, our walking meditation. Okay, so we stand. Okay, we are ready to start again. We will do another round of recollection of the Buddha. And as we go through, I'm going to be speaking less and less to the point where I will just mention the qualities, the designations, both in Pali and in English. In your task, as you bring each of these qualities to mind, you do so generating or let arise a feeling of reverence and esteem for the Buddha through each of these qualities. Let that reverence and esteem arise in the heart, swell up in the heart, since it's the arising of that reverence, that veneration, that esteem that will generate the joy, the delight that will help to purify and to uplift the mind. Okay, so take your comfortable meditation seat. Eyes closed. Do a few rounds of mindful breathing. Now generate in your mind the feeling that you are in the presence of the Buddha himself. And if you have your own favorite Buddha image, you can sort of lightly visualize that image in your mind. And now we're going to bring to mind the guna, the excellent qualities of the Buddha. So first, the Buddha is Arahant, the worthy one, the one who is fully purified of all defilements, the one who is broken the bonds and attained liberation from the cycle of birth and death, the liberated one, Arahant. And again, let the flavor of the quality spread over the mind, like the taste of the ice cream spreading over the tongue. Arahant, the worthy one, the purified one, the liberated one. The Buddha is Samma Sambuddho, the perfectly enlightened one, the one who is penetrated and fathomed and comprehended the nature of all phenomena. Sama Sambuddho, the perfectly, completely enlightened one. Buddha is Vijja Charana Sampanno, the one accomplished in clear knowledge and excellent conduct. Vijja Charana Sampanno. Buddha is Sugato, the fortunate one, the blissful one, the one who has gone to the blissful state by the excellent Noble Eightfold Path. Sugato, the fortunate one, the blissful one, the happy one. Buddha is Lokavidu, knower of the world, the one who knows all the different realms of existence that make up the world, and who knows the minds and hearts of living beings within the world. Lokavidu, knower of the world. The Buddha is Anuttaro Purisa Dhammasarati, unsurpassed trainer of persons to be tamed, the one who can tame even the most difficult and obstinate people. Anuttaro Purisa Dhammasarati, unsurpassed trainer of persons to be tamed. The Buddha is Satta Deva Manusanam, teacher of devas and human beings, the one who points out what is harmful and what is beneficial, the one who guides us to the good. Satta Deva Manusanam, teacher of devas and human beings. The Buddha is Buddho, the enlightened one who enlightens others, the awakened one who awakens others, Buddho, Buddho. Buddha is Bhagava, the Blessed One, the one who fulfilled all wonderful and meritorious qualities, the one who extends the waves of his blessings out upon the world. The Buddha is Bhagava, the Blessed One, the source of abundant blessings. Bhagava, Bhagava, Bhagava. Okay, now we'll go back to the beginning. Since we just have 7 minutes, I'll go through them a bit quickly. The Buddha is Arahang, the worthy one, the purified one, the liberated one. And again, as you're contemplating, do so with that reverence and esteem for the Buddha through these qualities. Buddha is Samma Sambuddho, the perfectly enlightened one. The Buddha is Vijacharana Sampanno, the one accomplished in clear knowledge and excellent conduct. The Buddha is Sugato, the fortunate one, the blissful one, the happy one. The Buddha is Lokavidu, knower of the world, who knows the many realms of existence and who knows the hearts and minds of sentient beings, knower of the world. The Buddha is Anuttaro Purisa Dhammasarati, unsurpassed trainer of persons to be tamed. The Buddha is Satta Deva Manusanam, the teacher of devas and human beings. The Buddha is Buddho, the enlightened one who enlightens others to the liberating truths. And the Buddha is Bhagava, the Blessed One who is the source of all blessings. Okay, now come back to your body. Take a few mindful deep breaths in and out, in and out. And then mindfully, you can open your eyes. And then rub the palms over the face, top of the head, back of the head, back of the neck, shoulders, then down the lower back to the buttocks, then down to the knees. And if you've been sitting cross-legged, then you can come down to the shins and the feet and the toes. Okay, we have a little break now. So we will break until 10:30, and then we'll come back at 10:30. And when we come back, then I will take, for just a few minutes, I'll take a few practical questions. No theoretical questions, no doctrinal questions, just questions about this actual practice, just for 10 minutes when we come back. Okay, we're back at 10:30. Okay, we are ready to resume. And I think it's best I would take the questions, not this session, but after the lunch break, when we come back at 1:50, then we will take, again, they will have to be practical questions about this method, just if people need anything clarified. Okay, so let us now go back into more sessions of Buddhanusati, recollection of the Buddha. And the qualities that go along that sort of bolster, that strengthen this practice was bringing to mind, as we're bringing to mind the designations or the titles or qualities of the Buddha. At the same time, in our heart, we're generating this feeling of reverence, esteem, veneration, admiration for the qualities of the one, the person who is broken through the gates of ignorance and opened up the path to liberation for countless living beings, including ourselves. Okay, so let us take our familiar meditation posture, alert but relaxed. Settle into the body. And let the mind go to the region of the heart. Since this is basically, we call this a heart-based practice. You could even think, if it helps, that the Buddha is sitting in the lotus of the heart. And now we're going to bring to mind the virtues or excellent qualities of the Buddha. So the Buddha, the Blessed One, is Arahang, a worthy one, worthy of veneration and offerings. The one whose mind is fully purified of all the defilements, even the subtlest traces, and who is broken free from the round of birth and death, the liberated one. So the Buddha is Arahang, 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 the worthy one. Purified, liberated, worthy of veneration. Buddha is Samma Sambuddho, the perfectly enlightened one who has removed all obstacles, all obstructions to full knowledge, and who understands in depth and in detail the nature of all dharmas, all phenomena. Samma Sambuddho, perfectly enlightened one. The Buddha is Vijja Charana Sampanno, accomplished in clear knowledge and excellent conduct, the one who knows the truth and whose conduct is always motivated by the wish to benefit beings, living beings. Vijja Charana Sampanno, accomplished in clear knowledge and excellent benevolent conduct. The Buddha is Sugato, the one who is gone to the blissful state, the blissful one, the happy one. Sugato. The Buddha is Lokavidu, knower of the world, the one who knows the world with all its many realms and planes of existence, and who knows the hearts and minds of living beings, the world of sentient beings. So Buddha is Lokavidu, knower of the world. Buddha is Anuttaro Purisa Dhammasarati, the unsurpassed trainer of persons to be tamed, the one who can tame the most difficult, most stubborn, most obstinate people. Anuttaro Purisa Dhammasarati, unsurpassed trainer of persons to be tamed. Buddha is Satta Deva Manusanam, the teacher of devas and human beings, the one who guides us to the good, who teaches us how to overcome what is harmful and how to develop what is beneficial, teaching deities and human beings. So Satta Deva Manusanam. The Buddha is Buddho, the enlightened one, the awakened one, the one who has penetrated, who has discovered the Four Noble Truths, and who enlightens others by awakening them to the Four Liberating Truths. So Buddho, the enlightened one, the awakened one, the enlightener, the awakener. And then Bhagava, the Blessed One, the one who has fulfilled and perfected all beautiful, meritorious qualities, and who has become the source of blessings and benefits for the world. So Bhagava, the Blessed One. Okay, now I'm going to do another cycle, a little quicker. And again, try to appreciate the flavor of each of these qualities, like tasting the different flavored ice creams. Let the flavor of the quality, the flavor of the designation seep through the mind and stir up devotion, veneration in the heart. The Buddha is Arahang, the worthy one, worthy of offerings and veneration. Fully purified, completely liberated. Arahang. He is Samma Sambuddho, the perfectly enlightened one, who has removed all the obstacles to knowledge and whose knowledge penetrates and fathoms the true nature of all phenomena. Perfectly enlightened one, Samma Sambuddho. He is Vijja Charana Sampanno, accomplished in clear knowledge and excellent conduct. The Buddha is Sugato, the blissful one, the fortunate one, the fortunate one, the blissful one, Sugato. He is Lokavidu, knower of the world, knower of the world with its many planes of existence, knower of the world of living beings, knowing the hearts and minds of living beings. Lokavidu, knower of the world. He is Anuttaro Purisa Dhammasarati, the unsurpassed trainer of persons to be tamed. He is Satta Deva Manusanang, the teacher of devas and human beings. He is Buddha, the enlightened one, the awakened one, who enlightens others. Buddha. And he is Bhagava, the Blessed One, and the source of many blessings. Okay, now come back to your body, the felt sense of the body. Take a few deep in and out breaths. And then open the eyes. Okay, we'll do another period of mindful walking meditation. Again, simply be mindful of each step and the contact of the foot against the ground. right foot, left foot, right foot, left foot. And then we resume. We come back together at our East Coast time, 5 after 11. Okay, again, now we settle in. First, settle into the body. And let the mind settle in the region of the heart. And you can imagine that there is a Buddha sitting in the lotus of the heart. And bring to mind the beautiful physical form of the Buddha. Even his form generates feelings of peace in those who see it, inspires trust, confidence, and devotion. And then we bring to mind the qualities, the exalted qualities of the Buddha's person. And letting each quality seep into the heart and generate feelings of appreciation, admiration, reverence, and esteem. The Buddha is Arahang, the worthy one, the purified one, the liberated one. Arahang. Buddha is Samma Sambuddho, the perfectly enlightened one. The Buddha is Vijacharana Sampanno, the one accomplished in clear knowledge and excellent conduct. Vijacharana Sampanno. Buddha is Sugato, the fortunate one, the blissful one, the happy one. Buddha is Lokavidu, knower of the world, who knows all the multiple planes and realms of worldly existence, and who thoroughly knows the world of sentient beings, who sees deep into the hearts and minds of sentient beings. Buddha is Anuttaro Purisa Dhammasarati, unsurpassed trainer of persons to be tamed, one who trains and tames the most difficult people. Anuttaro Purisa Dhammasarati. The Buddha is Satta Deva Manusanam, teacher of the deities and human beings, the one who guides and instructs and leads us to the good, to the benefit. Satta Deva Manusanam, teacher of devas and human beings. Buddha is Buddho, the enlightened one, the awakened one, who has discovered, penetrated the four liberating truths, and who enlightens and awakens others to these truths. So he's Buddho, the enlightened one. And he is Bhagava, the Blessed One, the one endowed with all excellent qualities, with great wisdom, great purity, great compassion, and who is the source of all blessings for the world. So Bhagava, the Blessed One. Okay, now come back to the felt sense of the body. Take a few mindful, deep, mindful in and out breaths. In, out, in, out. And then you can rub the palms together. And then rub the palms over the face, top of the head, back of the head, back of the neck, including the shoulder blades. Then come down the lower back to the buttocks and massage that area to stimulate the circulation. Then down to the knees. You can rub the knees. And if you've been sitting cross-legged on a mat, then you can come down the shins to the feet and the toes, massage those. And then we will end the morning session by standing and doing 3 half bows to the Buddha. And then we come back to resume. We come back to resume at 1:50. And at that time, I'll do a little review of the practice, and then we can take maybe about 10, 15 minutes just of practical questions. Again, not theoretical questions, not doctrinal questions, only questions related to this practice. Okay, so let us stand. Venerable Hong Jun will lead us in the half hours.